Hey guys, so today's video is going to be all about my neck tattoo. Now I have a lot of requests asking for a video either showing you the process of getting it done or just kind of talking you through it a bit basically. So I thought I'd combine all of it together today and show you some clips of me getting it done as well as explaining to you the process. Now when I first started this piece, I knew that I wanted it to be a cohesive wrapped around neck piece basically, and on my first session I sat through getting all of it lined in throughout the whole thing and getting the back filled to about here. Now you can see here I did take some clips of me getting it done. One of the things that I found most difficult about this tattoo was actually sitting for it, because as you can see, for majority of the process I'm actually just sat up, and then having the pressure on your neck of somebody constantly pressing down, it's really hard not to just keep leaning forward. So I ended up with actually quite a bit of a backache, which is something that I didn't really expect through getting this done. So it wasn't until he got to doing this part here that I actually was led down. For the entire back, for up to here, I was sat up and I was just constantly moving around like to make the angle easier for him. When we got to the front, say this is the bed and this is like where my head was like here, so it's like leaning off of the bed, and it sounds really stupid but it gives you really bad head rush. Like it actually made me feel a bit sick, and it's also really quite an intimate, awkward position to be in because my head was just in his lap and our faces were like this close together while he's just working underneath my neck. So positioning wise, it's actually quite an awkward and almost intimate sort of tattoo to sit for, just because I didn't really expect to have to sit like that, and I kept having to sort of sit up every sort of like half hour and just sort of stretch my neck out because you get all the blood rush to your head and it does make you feel like almost a little bit unwell. So I really wasn't expecting that, but unfortunately I didn't actually get any clips of that bit being done because by this point in time my phone had died. The other thing that I found quite interesting is so we were trying to, he was trying to work out the best way to do this tattoo, and rather than putting the entire pattern all the way around and the stencil on, as you can see in these clips, what he was doing was he was putting a section on, lining it and filling it and doing it like that as we went, and he did that until we got to these side bits which you can see in these clips, and then after that he just went in and was doing section by section. I can't even remember how many cutouts there were of this in the end, but he was just building it up section by section, and by this point, because we realised we weren't going to be able to fill and line the entire tattoo in one sitting, he was just lining bits of it in. So for the back, it was lined and filled as we went to the sides, and then on the front section and the rest of the sides, it was just lined in like a section, and then a new bit of stencil was put on, and then that was lined in. And I think again that's another reason why it took so long. So for my first session I sat for 9 hours, and that may sound like a lot, but obviously it takes a really long time for them to position the tattoo, because rather than it just being like one tattoo on the side, one tattoo on the side, one on the back and one on the front, the whole thing is cohesive. So trying to line that in to get it to wrap all the way around took such a long time. I don't know about any of you guys, but I find after a couple of hours of getting tattooed, I'm already a bit like, this kind of sucks now. And when I went to get this done, I actually had glandular fever, so all my glands were up like here and like here at the time. So I was a little bit worried about getting tattooed with that going on, but it didn't actually make any difference to getting it tattooed other than it probably just hurt a little bit more. I think after about 5 hours was where I hit my sort of my point of I'm gonna die with this tattoo. The back for me was the easiest bit of the entire neck to sit. I could barely feel it. Like he started at the back and I was like, do you know what, this tattoo is going to be a breeze, because it just genuinely doesn't hurt. Like the line work didn't hurt, filling it didn't hurt, like it was absolutely fine. For me, the only bits that I found painful in terms of this, like in my first session, was lining my jaw and lining the bottom bit here. I found that bit, my jaw and over my tendons here, which to be fair was where my glands were up, I found those bits painful. But other than that, to be honest with you, it really wasn't that bad. Hitting the sort of 9-hour kind of mark though, you know when someone like approaches you with a needle and you kind of quiver away from it, I kind of got to that point. I remember this bit was the last bit, this section was the last bit that was done, and it wasn't that bad, but it was just, I reached my peak by this point and I was like, do you know what, this just really, really hurts now. Please, can you just stop touching me with the needle, basically. You can see here, that's how much I got filled at the back. And you can kind of see it's lined in there as well. On the, you can see that all of this bit is lined. In terms of the healing of it, because I got it all done with dot work, because I just thought, because it's going to be on my neck and it's going to be really black and really bold, I thought having it in dot work might make it look a little bit softer. I think the healing of mine was actually a lot better because it wasn't as solid as pure line work and shading. So for me, the first sort of stage of healing, within a couple of weeks, it was pretty much absolutely fine. I also think now, having the dot work with all the black sort of like heavier shading around it, like up here, kind of makes it stand out a little bit more, makes it look a bit more 3D and a bit bolder. So I'm really happy that I ended up going for the dot work. The reason that I got this pattern as well is because it's the same pattern that's in my tattoo sleeve. So I thought blackout, like heavy black shading, as well as this pattern kind of combined my two sleeves, because obviously everything meets in the middle. So I thought having nearly a whole bodysuit, it would make sense for me to have my two arms combined into my neck. So that was my first session on my neck. That was in March, and then I went back in May when I could afford to go again, and I got the second half done, which was a 5-hour session, and he filled all of this bit as well as doing all this black sort of shading, not including this bit, but all the black shading coming off all of this on the back and under here. That took about 5 hours to finish that and just sort of tidy up any little lines. I think this photo shows it quite well because you can kind of see, that's when it's quite fresh, that's only a few days old, but you can see then how it kind of blends my two sort of sleeves together. I think at this point I actually started feeling like I was starting to look a bit more heavily tattooed as well, so this was quite a good memory for me. In terms of the healing for this, it's actually quite funny because you can see how fat my neck actually got under here, because all of this being filled made I swell up so much anyway, but I look like, you know those bullfrogs where they're like, I feel like I kind of look like one of those in these photos, which is quite funny and another reason why I actually kept them. But at this point, I felt like my tattoo was actually done. So I sat my entire neck wrapped all the way around in 2 sessions. A lot of people then asked me what I was going to put in the centerpiece. And at the beginning, I actually thought I was going to leave it blank just because I thought it was a nice skin break to go against all of my other tattoos, because obviously I'm going for just heavy black work. But I then got asked if I left the middle of my throat because it would hurt too much, and me being an Aries and being one of the sort of people that's like, no, I'll do anything, me, like those little yappy annoying dogs, because that's my personality trait, unfortunately. I was then triggered and was like, I'm gonna black that out then. So at this point in time I started going to a different tattoo artist anyway, just because, well, for quite a few different reasons really, but I'm not going to sit here and slate my old tattoo artist. I mean, we didn't see eye to eye and we ended up having an argument, but you know, these sort of things happen. So I went to my new tattoo artist, and you can see here me getting my neck, the centre bit of my neck filled. I went for solid shading over having dot work on this, just because I thought, again, with the heavy shading around all the edges, it would kind of go better. I have to say, having that blacked out felt quite gross. It wasn't a nice experience, in all honesty. I don't know if I'd say it was the worst part. I still think under the jaw, where they lift onto your jaw and shade under, that I think was probably more painful than the centre, but it wasn't far off of it. I'm really happy with how it's healed. It's really nice and solid. It doesn't need any touch-ups, which I'm really happy with. But overall, I'd say compared to my other tattoos, the actual pain of this, overall, I'd say it ranges from like literally a 1 out of 10 to I'd say maybe an 8 out of 10, 10 being the worst tattoo I've ever had. So I think the 8s are underneath the jawline, but only if it's heavy, black, over the glands. But again, that's probably because I had glandular fever and the very centre of this. But other than that, to be honest, I'd say the neck isn't actually that painful of a spot to get, and I think you'll probably be fine sitting it if that's something that you want. I'm really overall happy with how it looks. I'll show you guys what it looks like all the way around. I don't know if you can see all of that. I'm really glad that it's one of the pieces that I've got finished now. I wouldn't say it's too bad. The only thing I would say is make sure you go to an artist that you can trust. Make sure that you go to someone who, well, I could put up a tattoos do's and don'ts video. Go check that out in terms of who I think, you know, personally makes a good tattoo artist to me. But I think have trust in your artist. Make sure you know exactly what you want, because once you've got a neck tattoo, it's kind of no really going back from there. Like, it's going to be something that's on show all of the time. So make sure it's something that you're going to love. Make sure you're happy with the design before you get it on you. And yeah, have fun, enjoy it. Yeah, so that's about it really. That's kind of the process of getting it done. The process of it healing. With this bit healing as well, it was absolutely fine, to be honest. It didn't really swell or anything like that. It was just a bit sensitive, as all tattoos are when they're healing. I think that's about it, guys. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see from me in the future in the comment section below. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.